I had an ex-girlfriend who was very into Doctor Who. This was several years ago. It was not the current Doctor Who, but it was just as David Tennant was wrapping up. I think the end of season 4. Anyway, like the good partner that I am, phone ringing, I decided that I wanted to find out more about Doctor Who so that I could have something, not something in common, we had stuff in common, but that we could discuss this topic that was close to her heart. Now, the thing with ADHD that I've noticed is, and again, I'm still going down the official diagnosis route, so I don't want to misspeak, but I had been led to believe that we are prone to binging a lot of stuff in one go. And so I just remembered this. I remember I had to catch up on 4 seasons of Doctor Who. And I think there's about 20 episodes or something in every season. Look, it was a lot of Doctor Who to watch. And I remember finding a site to download these episodes because I couldn't find them online. And I certainly wasn't going to pay for a box set of DVDs. This was before the age of Netflix had really taken off. And I had to watch 4 seasons of Doctor Who back to back. Now, I didn't mind it. I actually found it quite enjoyable. And to this day, I still think David Tennant is by far the most enjoyable and my favorite Doctor Who. But I watched it back to back. Now, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't that difficult. I kind of had it on in the background and I just went through the whole thing. Fast forward to today, and before it came to my attention that I may well have ADHD, I had started realizing that willpower being what it is in my brain, it wasn't worth tempting fate with quite a lot of things. Now, what do I mean? So people, for example, well-meaning friends would always recommend a new series to watch on Netflix or Prime or something like that. And Breaking Bad is a good example if you're familiar with that series. And I'd always heard people speaking very highly of, Breaking Bad. And, you got to go and watch this, you got to go and watch that, this series, that movie, this TV show. But the first thing that I would always do, and this is way before I even thought that I might have ADHD, was I would look at the time investment required to watch the whole thing. Not one season, not one episode, but the whole bloody thing. Why? Because if I didn't like it, I'd find out in 5 minutes and turn it off. No harm, no foul. But if I liked it, I had to see the whole thing in one go. I couldn't stop. I swear to God. The cleverest yet most sinister thing that Netflix ever invented is the autoplay function. At the end of every episode, it cuts the ending credits short and just goes straight in to the next episode. And it even skips the opening credits. Like there's that function to skip and you just go right into the next episode. That's me. And I find it nigh on impossible to stop watching a series that I'm enjoying when the whole series is available. So Breaking Bad, as an example, I decided to watch 1 episode to see what it's about. Got immediately hooked on the characters because I think they're so interesting and deep and really just quality written characters, not shallow at all. And I'm sure you can tell what happened. I had to watch the whole bloody thing from the beginning to the end. I think I spent 3 or 4 days just binge watching Breaking Bad episodes. Now, it's not like I wasn't watching and I don't remember it. Obviously when you watch the whole thing back to back, there are parts where you sort of fade in, fade out, and maybe I don't have the exact recollection of the series as well as someone who watched it episode by episode the way it was meant to be seen. But I did watch the whole thing. And I basically had to write off at least half a week of my life to watching that because I just couldn't stop. And there's often this discussion with ADHD and willpower and, neurotypical people can will themselves to do things that they might not like stopping watching a series, whereas ADHD people tend to find that a lot harder, bordering on impossible, to stop doing something that they love doing. And it's not just with TV or Netflix. I realized, because at the moment there's a lot of sales on gaming. Now, I game quite often. I tend to game, I realize it's either because of story. I really find good story writing interesting, and I love getting engrossed in stories. It's a fictional world, obviously, but it can still be intriguing. Or there's some mechanic in a game that hooks you because you just want to get better and better and you want to get perfect. I spoke yesterday about social media and how it's so dangerous for people with ADHD because it's designed to hook the dopamine and hijack your dopamine system in a way that even a neurotypical person can't really avoid. They're designed to be addictive, which I think is very, very sinister and is not something that's looked at often enough. But games are exactly the same. And it's not just guys that game. I know a lot of girls that game, and it's not just Sims. I know back in the day a lot of girls got into the Sims, but I know quite a few girls who will play GTA, will play COD, will play, all these other things. And as that happens more and more, I think what you have to realize with that is that it's also addictive in a way that Netflix can be, and that it's particularly dangerous to people who have ADHD. So, for example, there's a sale on Steam at the moment. If you don't know, Steam is the biggest sort of online store to reputably anyway, buy games online. And because it was just Black Friday, there's still quite a few sales going on. I mean, they always have sales going on, but Black Friday was a huge one. And there's this game, it just came up in my email today because I had a wish list, and it tells you when something on your wish list goes on sale. And it's called Becoming Human or something. What is it called? I have it here in front of me somewhere. Detroit. Become Human. And basically, I think it's about an android who has to become human. And it's a branching storyline. I have no idea how it's designed. Haven't bought it. But it's a very intricately branching storyline so that you really have control as to how this whole thing plays out. It's not an action game. It's much more based in story, which, as I've already said, I told you, I find fascinating when there's a well-constructed story. I can lose myself in fantasy worlds very often. I used to find fantasy worlds much more interesting than the real world. To some extent, I still do. And I'm looking at this game and going, I've got it on my wish list, and it's on sale now. You can see it there. It used to be $60 Australian, now it's $24. But I don't want to buy it. I do want to buy it, but I don't, because I know what's going to happen if I get that. I'm going to have to play it through to its conclusion, probably in one go. And there goes, probably 10 to 20 hours of my life where I don't sleep, I don't eat, I don't do anything except just play that game. And afterwards, I don't feel good about it, but I really literally feel like I can't control myself when it comes to things like that. So, when friends recommend TV series, or my brother even, he games with me, and he will buy me a game that's on sale because he wants to play it with me. And I love that, but also it's like, oh crap, if I actually enjoy this game, I'm going to end up playing a lot more than I want to. Not just when I'm playing with my brother, but just by myself. So it's extremely dangerous, the point I'm getting at, for people with ADHD or ADHD-like tendencies. Things are so readily available in this day and age. I mean, speaking about gaming, if you wanted to get a game before, you'd have to go out to EB or JB Hi-Fi or things like that. Go out, buy a physical copy of the game. You remember old school games cartridges and CDs if you're that old. Come home. You then have to sit there, back in the days of floppy disks anyway, and put 10 floppy disks in, one at a time. You wait for it to do its thing. You bring it out, you put the next one in, take it out, and it would take some time. So, and effort. And so if you wanted to play a game, you needed to expend a little bit of effort and time to get it installed. Now, it's not a lot of time and effort, and it's not like games were free back then or more. I mean, games still cost what they cost. If anything, they cost more. But because there was that little barrier of entry, you need to pay a bit of an entrance price, like an entry fee, which is you're going to have to spend half an hour or something installing this. and probably spend half an hour to an hour going to get the bloody thing in the first place, that was enough to give you pause and go, okay, I don't really want it. And it was the same with, if you remember back in the day, like Blockbuster. Apparently there's literally one Blockbuster store left in the world right now. But remember back in the day, if you wanted to watch a movie, you wanted to hire it, you need to go to your Blockbuster, find the DVD in the store, pay for the DVD in the store, then leave, but you'd also need to take it back. And again, that little bit of effort required, time, gave you pause. It gave your brain that time to go, oh, do I really want to watch this? Maybe not. And if you are doubting the power of what I'm saying, what's the reason there's literally only one Blockbuster store left in the world when there used to be how many? Why has it disappeared? Because of Netflix. And why has Netflix completely destroyed Blockbuster? Ease. Think about it. It's not like Netflix is free. You could say Blockbuster costs more per movie, but it's not even that. It's the fact that now the barrier to entry to you watching what you want to watch, go onto Netflix. You don't even need to log in. For most of us, we stay logged in, right? Go onto Netflix, search for it, hit play, get your popcorn, sit down and watch. And if you're like me, then you end up watching the whole series. So 5 days later, you finally finish. But for normal people, it's that simple, or neurotypical. I don't want to call them normal. And so things have become so much easier these days, whether it's streaming services like Netflix or gaming services like Steam. I'm really lucky I never got into online gambling. I don't like gambling. I just think it's a really good way of losing money because the odds are always stacked against you. So in my brain, it's like, no, this is stupid. I'm not going to play this. But if I was, it would be so easy as someone who has ADHD to get hooked on it. And I can see like online gambling and gambling addiction in general is a huge problem in modern day society. And there's a lot of these things that are only going to get worse. Pornography addiction is a huge problem. Not just for men, although it's, I think, overwhelmingly men. And if you think about that, maybe you haven't thought about it too much and you don't need to, but again, why has that become a problem? Because it is so much more easily available. Not that I ever bought porn. Actually, I've never had to think about this. I want to be honest. But back in the day, even in my childhood, as I understand it, if you wanted to buy pornography, I think you needed to go to a newsagent or like an adult store, which is already shady, right? So you feel a bit dirty. Like my friends took me to an adult store one time as a joke, and I've never felt more uncomfortable than I did then. But you'd have to go to this adult store, and they have bright neon lights on the top saying XXX adult store. You have to go in, so you're already feeling skeevy. So you have to overcome that. Then you have to find what you want. You have to look at it, and then you have to go to the front counter, and you have to pay for it. And the person obviously gets to look at what you're buying. It's kind of like when you go to the supermarket. If you've ever done this and you've had to buy condoms, it's just, it's confronting, right? You need the bloody things. A lot of us do anyway, but it's just like embarrassing. And again, that's a barrier to entry. And so there used to be this barrier to entry to a lot of things, such as pornography. But now, online porn, I mean, they say that the internet is driven by two things. The advent of the internet is driven by two things. One is marketing, and the other one is actually pornography. Pornography, marketing, and gaming, those sort of three things, push the boundary of why internet has to be faster. And it's hard to argue with it when you see the actual data. But there are all these things. I'm not here to talk about pornography. I'm by no means an expert. But there are so many things that can dig their addictive claws into neurotypical people even, but ADHD people even more easily. And those things now have become so much more readily accessible and available that it is so hard. It's so dangerous. And if you're someone who has ADHD, you need to be aware of this and adjust your behaviors accordingly. Like, as I said, I only have Amazon Prime now. I don't have the other streaming services. That's a conscious choice because I only have Amazon Prime, by the way, because I like the next day delivery. And then, okay, it comes with a streaming service. All right, at least I get something else for my money. But if I had streaming, like if I had Prime, Disney, Netflix, and God knows what else. I know in the United States, you've got like loads of other ones as well. I think I'd spend my whole time I'm not going to say in front of the TV because it's not TV, but in front of the computer, just binge watching, series, whether it's Big Bang Theory or Star Trek or something like Doctor Who. And I just lose hours of my life. And I don't want to do that. See, here's the thing. Let me finish on this. I think it was Eliza I was talking to, and a friend of mine who was really the one that switched me onto the whole ADHD path and going down the diagnosis route. And she said, Adrian, ADHD people get this rap for being lazy. And it can be hard to distinguish between whether you're genuinely lazy or you have the issues that are associated with ADHD, as in struggling with motivation and struggling to start doing things when you don't want to do them. And she said, here's how you tell. Lazy people can actually enjoy being lazy. People with ADHD spend their time apparently, at least from the outside, appearing lazy, but the whole time they're not enjoying it because their brain can't sit still, their brain can't switch off, their brain can't give them the grace to go, it's all right to, not be working all the time. And so they really don't enjoy time off and or being lazy. And when I heard that, I was like, that's absolutely correct. I have found it incredibly difficult to switch off. There's always this gnawing sense of guilt that I should be doing something. And then I see other people who can, like my best friend, the one that I play tennis with, when he decides to switch off, he can completely switch everything off in a way that I really envy. And I always wondered, how is he able to do that and me not? And I just thought I had difficulty switching off. I didn't realize it could be associated with a condition such as ADHD. So I don't know why I started. I remember why I started this, because I saw that email from Steam saying, the Become Human had gone on sale, and I was just battling, going, I want it, but I really don't want it. And I think if you have battled with ADHD, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When you know that you have to struggle with going over the edge in a way that neurotypical people don't, because they can rein it back, whereas you and I probably can't, at least not nearly as easily. And so the world is a dangerous place for us types, with so many things easily available. And let's be honest, so many things literally designed to hijack your dopamine system. And we're doubly susceptible to that with our ADHD brains. So we need to come up with, I think, strategies that neurotypical people don't in order to deal with dangers such as this. And yeah, as I said, I only have one streaming service. I will habitually see a game that I'm interested in and not buy it. I'm just lucky when I'm not. I feel I can count myself lucky when I'm not hooked onto something that other people tend to be, because I know how hard it can be to unhook or to undo an addiction. It's incredibly difficult. Like, for example, soft drinks. I've never liked soft drinks. I remember actually why, went back to when I had my braces put in initially when I was like 12 years old. And I remember reading, if you drink soft drinks, it's going to erode the cement that holds the braces in place, the plastic cement or the plastic glue, and then your braces will come off. And I read that, okay, well, I just won't have soft drink. And so I've never, ever been hooked into soft drinks. I also don't like sugary sweet things. So I have no problems saying no to soft drinks, but I know plenty of you might. And so every time there's something that other people struggle with being addicted to that I don't, I really count myself hugely lucky, because it's like, oh, that's a battle I don't have to fight, because I don't know if I'd be able to fight it and win. Like online gambling, like smoking, like drugs, or even like alcohol. I did maybe have a bit too much alcohol in my early 20s, but I'd never say I was an alcoholic. I was able to come off that. Also because, let's face it, being drunk, it might be fun in the moment, but the next day it feels like shit. So, pardon my French. So, if you know that you're susceptible to some of the same issues that I've outlined, take proactive preventative steps, because you have to protect your space, protect your security of mind, more so than a neurotypical person would. And really give some thought as to how marketing tries to get its hooks into us because we, as a subset of population of culture, we're more susceptible to that than anyone. And so it would really behoove you to look at how does marketing work? How does gaming work? How does all these other things like streaming work, like social media? How do they give you those little hits of dopamine that would get neurotypical people hooked? But for us, it's just like it gets those hooks into us faster. And before we know it, we're hooked onto TikTok, watching for hours, doing doom scrolling, as I was saying yesterday. So just some food for thought. I am going to go have lunch because I actually was hooked onto something earlier and I've had to come off of it. And now it's like 3:30 p.m. and I haven't had lunch. So I'm going to go and have lunch. Still on the keto diet, by the way. You guys have an amazing time. Give some thought to what I just said and take some of those proactive, preventative steps.